What's up, guys? Today I'm going to show you a video of how I like to set up for the bench press. So I'll be setting up in accordance with USAPL rules, which should work in pretty much any powerlifting federation. But hopefully you guys can take a couple things from this video, learn to set up a little bit better, get a little bit more leg drive, put a couple more pounds on your bench, and just feel more stable in general. So I'm going to do a step-by-step walkthrough right now of what I do for the bench. So for me, before I even start, you'll notice that I did a couple things here. One, I put two 55-pound plates behind the bench. And reason being is I use so much leg drive that even if there's one 55-pound plate, the weight of the bar on me on the bench, I'll slide that bench backwards in the middle of a set, and it can be kind of dangerous. So make sure that the bench is very stable. These don't really have rubberized feet here, so that's also a reason that the bench tends to slip. I put a little band here to stabilize the bench since it's a little bit crooked due to those lack of rubber ends. And then for the bench itself, not everyone's gonna need this, but I like to put some bands on the bench just to prevent myself from sliding during leg drive. And you'll also see that I'm wearing an A7 grip shirt, which is mainly, I think it was designed for use with low bar squats, but it's also fantastic for keeping you from slipping during a bench press. So let's get started. Oh, one other thing, I am using a belt here. I find that it helps prevent my back from cramping when I'm holding an arched position for quite some time. And also it allows me to produce more force going from my legs to my arch, so I can remain a little bit more stable. You don't have to use a belt, it's optional, but for me I find it more comfortable and I think it helps me get a little bit more out of the press movement. So starting here, you're gonna see me center my head. Sometimes I'll center my hips as well. I'm rolling the bar to the back. You don't have to do that. You can put it in the front as well. Reason for me rolling it to the back is that I tend to push back towards my head when I press. So this bar is gonna roll towards the back when I try to unrack it anyways. But if you can put it towards the front and it doesn't roll back, it's great because then you'll have less movement to go from the J hooks to your set position before you start the press. And it's less wasted energy. So here I'm benching with a max grip. I have really long arms, so they're going to be really far out, just so that I can maximize my leverage. What I'm doing here, I set my feet on the bench. You're going to see in a moment that I'm going to press up and I'm going to try and start forming that arch. At the same time, I am pressing into the bar to help hold myself in place because I will be putting some force into my legs here and it could slide me a little bit, so I need to apply some force into the bar to help me help me stay in place. So I'm basically forcing myself to contort into this arch shape. And I'm going to hold that for the duration of the lift. Another way you could go about it is at this point you could put your feet on the ground. I just would keep my butt in the air. You'll see in just a second. I'm going to press up right here. So I'm setting my back, I'm retracting my shoulder blades. I'm taking a breath. I'm tightening my core already. I'm setting my feet down in a comfortable position. I set really wide just because my legs are so long, and if I use leg drive, my butt comes off the bench. I would start a little bit closer to the bench, not in such an extreme position when you're first trying this out. And if your butt comes off the bench, we could do a couple things. We could slide your feet out. We could twist the angle of your feet. But it is something that I'd like to communicate with, just so we can find a position where you are strong, you can drive as hard as you want without risk of your butt coming up. Because if your butt does come up during a competition bench, there will be a no lift. Okay, so as I'm settling in, I'm already forming that arch. I'm pushing through my feet. My glutes are tight. I'm flexing my abs. I've been pressing into the bar this whole time to maintain that position so I don't slide. One last deep breath, get tight, unrack the bar. If you notice here, my butt was still in the air as I was unracking the bar. Once the bar's in the correct position, then I put my butt down. A lot of people will make the mistake of now just resting their butt on the bench. When in fact, you're going to be driving through your legs so hard that your butt is barely going to be resting on that bench. It's barely going to be touching. We're only keeping our butt touching the bench, so that's in accordance with the rules. But other than that, your butt isn't supporting the weight of your, or it isn't supporting you and keeping you up. If it is keeping you up, then you're probably not using as much leg drive as you could be using. Okay? So moving on, quick pause before the start. I start the descent here. Pause, press, and rack. So I'm going to pull it back because a few things happen here. Butt came down. I start the press. I want you to be pressing as hard as you can through the whole lift. Here, my butt popped a little bit, right? Which means I wasn't using as much leg drive as I could through the descent of the bench. And then I'll pop here. So I want you to keep your butt on the bench. I want you to press through the whole duration of the movement, and then you pause for a second before unracking. A little detail you may notice here. After I finish the press, the bar actually goes up another 2 or 3 inches. And that's just because I'm no longer retracting my shoulder blades to keep them pinched back into the bench, keep my lats active. I release all of that so that I can rack it. But that's just to show you that I am shortening the range of motion. I am keeping my back tight and stable so I have a nice firm area to be pressing from. And then I can let that go when I'm done with the rep. If you're performing multiple reps in a row, you want to keep this back position tight, and you would take another breath, or you'd use the same breath and continue the set from here. And you'll see me rack. And that's it. Let me know if you have any questions on this. There are definitely a few ways to go about this. There are multiple things that we could change. Everything is anatomy dependent and preference dependent. So it's going to take some time to find what's optimal for you. I know it took me a long time, even with a coach. But I'm hoping that we can get the most out of your bench just by using leg drive, setting up a little bit better, recruiting more muscles, building that stable shelf on your back by staying tight. Setting up the bench more efficiently. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll be here. I'll be here to support you if there's anything that you may have issues with. But yeah, let's work through it. Let's add some weight to your total. Good luck.